Greetings to all you beautiful metalheads out there tuning into our interview with the great Björn from Swedish melodic metal giants In Flames. Hi, Björn. Nice to have you on Maximum Rock Magazine's podcast. How's it going?
It's all really good. Super excited about the new record. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview. In just 7 days, as you said, you'll be releasing your 14th studio album, Foregone. Did you prepare something special for February 10th?
Actually, not really. We came from a very busy year. Um, we didn't expect it to be as busy. We thought we'd make it slow, coming out of the pandemic, do a few shows and all that. But in the end, we actually managed to write and record for 2 months in the US, and then we started touring, and we managed to do 120 shows last year. So it was
awesome.
Yeah, it was a very busy year, which is awesome. We love it, but we didn't expect it. So we actually haven't really planned that much around this. There will be some parties and stuff like that, obviously, but no shows or anything like that. Taking it easy for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, of course. But then you're going to be busy for a while after you release the record. You're going to have there's going to be a few concerts all over Europe and the world.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's absolutely where I think we do the best job, and where I have the best time. It's on stage. Touring. I love it. And especially now, I think that the lineup that we have right now is the one that sounds the best that we ever sounded. I mean, we've always had a great lineup. Everybody who's been in this band has been really, really good at what they do. But life has happened, so we lost a few members, and it's always been chaotic times. Obviously, it's very sad. But for some reason, the people coming in and helping out and filling those positions have always been adding so much energy and skill to In Flames. So we just turned into a better and better band, and right now it's incredible. We've never sounded better, so it's more fun than ever to play live. So I'm very excited about that.
I'm very happy to hear that. You've always been super tight live, so I'm actually looking forward to your concert in Romania. You're going to be playing Rockstad Extreme Fest in August. So it's going to be
exciting.
Great. I plan on seeing you live. Did you notice any remarkable difference between audiences in Eastern Europe, for instance, and audiences in the States? Is there something that you could pinpoint in terms of?
There's a lot of passion. I would say maybe a little bit less inhibitions. There's a lot of singing, a lot of it's a lot of energy, I would have to say. And it's always awesome. I mean, all of Europe is really, really cool for us to play in. And it used to be, I think back in the day, if we're talking 20 plus years ago, you could see a bigger difference between different countries or different cultures, if you will, especially like if you went to Asia or if you went to the US or anywhere in Europe or Southern or Eastern Europe. They all were slightly different, depending. It's very passionate in the south of Europe, lots of singing, football chants and stuff like that. In the US, it's more physical with mosh pits and stuff like that. And in Japan, they were just jumping in one spot, up and down, and dead silent between songs so they can hear everything you say. So very different, but it's all been coming towards each other. It's all pretty much the same now, which is awesome for us, because then we have the same experience, or at least the same fundamental experience, and each and every night is different, obviously, but it's the same good vibe throughout, and we love it.
That's great. But back to Foregone. I've been scouting your fan pages lately and quite extensively this past few days, and what I noticed is that, first of all, everyone is thrilled with the sound and the direction of the new record, and they've been calling it, and I quote, a perfect balance between the old school and the modern. Would you say that this is an accurate depiction of Foregone?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the thing is that this is how we always do our music. It comes from the same kind of source, the same will to explore, but never forgetting who we are. I mean, we always bring our roots with us. It's not something we look for. It's always with us. So it's always part of what we do. We each and every record, each and every show teaches us something, and especially a lot about songwriting. You understand what's doable live and not, of course. And as I mentioned before, live is where I think we do our best work, like where we actually sound the best. So that's why we think about that when we write music. And then this time around, I have to say, I really, really love how I the Mask sounds. I'm a guitar player, and it's a lot of guitar up front. It's very delicate, the guitar sound. You can hear everything. You can hear the strings. You can hear the picking of the strings. You can hear the fingers sliding and all that. And it's more rock, but guitar-based rock production, perhaps. And this time we wanted to sound more metal. And it's a matter of mixing, I would say, most of it, because as I said, the music stems from the same pool or same source, and the ideas are just continuations of what we've done in the past. So yeah, I think the way to mix it makes a huge difference, and it might showcase the riffs and melodies in a different way that might remind some people of how it was back in the day. And that's a good thing. I mean, we always have it with us, and I'm extremely proud of our heritage, and it's what brought us here, so it's something that we never forget, but we don't look at it as the one time we were good. It's all a learning experience. So it's awesome to have it with us, and something that we learn from.
You said something interesting, that you're, well, first and foremost, a guitarist now, but you actually started out as being the drummer in the band. Do you ever miss? Do you ever miss?
No, I don't miss playing drums. I mean, I do play some drums every now and then. It's a lot of fun for about half an hour.
Okay.
But it's so much work. It's extremely demanding of you physically, and also it's something I was never comfortable as a drummer, and that's not what I was I was a guitar player from the beginning. So it was, but the position opened up. Jesper didn't want to play drums anymore, and I happened to be a little less bad than him on drums. So I ended up being none of us are real drummers, but he wanted to play guitars, and he is a phenomenal songwriter, and he never considered himself anything but a songwriter. I think he's a really good one. So he was probably more comfortable playing the guitars than the drums, and so was I. But it was good at the time, because I got to write music. I got to play guitar on the records, some solos, and write the riffs and stuff like that. So I was okay with that setup in the beginning, but very soon, as soon as we started touring properly, I realized that's not for me. And we were really fortunate finding Daniel really early on. He was the first guy taking over on the drums after me, and he was with us for a very long time. He's a phenomenal drummer, super stable, and somebody you can really, really rely on. Him and Peter was the foundation of the band for many, many years, giving us that the opportunities to explore our live sound. And we continued having excellent drummers after Daniel quit. We had Joe for a while, and then now we have Tanner. Tanner is probably the best drummer I've ever played with in my life, and I played with a bunch of drummers. He's extremely talented. He's so creative that he can lose you in a second if he wants to, but still be right beat. So it's incredible to play with these guys.
Now, regarding the new record, I would say, after listening to your 5 singles, that the main themes are time, the decay of humanity, and maybe the struggle between either losing or having hope in the future. We've been through a pandemic. There's a war right now in the middle of Europe. Climate change is worse than ever, and inflation has skyrocketed to the point where a lot of people are dealing with poverty right now. Your record definitely captures the dismay we all feel. And I was wondering, what do you think is happening with this crazy zeitgeist? Are we really heading toward global tragedy, or what is your feel? What is your grasp of things?
My what I think I'm inherently like, or fundamentally, I'm an optimist. I always been. I try to at least see the positive in most things, and it's easy to say that, obviously, but I think my basic outlook on life is usually a positive one. But as you mentioned, there's so many things at the same time now that you start to wonder, obviously. And I don't want to make any predictions, and because I'm not that person. But I do think that in the end we will realize that this is not sustainable the way things are going right now, and a lot of initiatives have been made in order to get on the right side of the climate change and the problems we have with that. And it's unfortunate that coming out of the pandemic, you have the inflation. Economies are having a big problem right now, and that always comes at a cost. And usually, it's the environment that takes that blow, and which sucks. And hopefully, we can get some peace in Europe and get our heads straight and focus on the important stuff. And that's a lot of things that I think Anders talks about on this record, is that he believed that coming out of the pandemic, we would come out as better people, more understanding, because this was global. This was not just a certain region or anything. This was everywhere. So you would think that you would learn from that experience and maybe think about other people a little bit more and consider your position in the world and everything. And almost the opposite happened. And it's frustrating, obviously, for everybody, and more so for people in the struggle and everything. So it's something that for sure he had in mind when he was writing a lot of these lyrics, and we talked a lot about it. And it is obviously, we're not a political or religious or anything band, but it's impossible not to handle or to at least talk a little bit about these stuff.
Yeah, I think that's very strong, and I think it's a great thing for a band to be doing. And you've always been very in tune with both yourselves as human beings, as artists, and with the situations around the world. So that's definitely something that I as a fan, deeply appreciate. And now, in terms of Zeitgeist again, I read that the visualizer for Foregone Part 1 is actually done using AI technology.
That's actually more than I know. I know that when they were working on, I didn't really take part in that video. I didn't know it was going to be a video, to be honest. In the beginning, it was something that was, I think, a basic an idea to begin with, but it ties in nicely with Foregone Part 2. So it's. I think the story was sort of thought of by Anders and possibly by Blake Armstrong, who is the guy that creates all the artwork and a lot of the lore, if you will, around In Flames. He's created the first comic book that we did. He was part of making all the characters and different topics. He turned it into a universe of its own, together with Anders' lyrics, and so I think that's just a continuation of that, really. And I don't know anything about the technology used in the video, but looking at it, yeah, you're probably right.
I was just wondering if you have any sort of opinion on AI technology in general. There's been a lot of discussion lately about it in terms of how.
Yes, absolutely, and especially in the art community. Absolutely, in the community. I follow a lot of artists. I'm a huge fan of video games, fantasy, and all that stuff. But the art around it, or that is the core of it. So, and a lot of these artists are worried about AI because it's sort of the way it's used right now. It's infringing on copywriting and stuff like that. So it's a difficult. It's an interesting time, let's put it like that, but it's also difficult because it's not regulated yet. And that's obviously intimidating and scary and making a very shaky livelihood even more shaky, for a lot of these struggling artists. And I think with technology and big changes, there's always a bit of fear. And I know how it was when we went from, well, we did CDs in the beginning. I mean, we were right up. The CDs were fairly, well, it was really big when we started making records. But we always kept the vinyl format because we think it's the way it was when we grew up. And I think it's a perfect format for music because you get the big covers, you get the artwork, and you get that input. But I remember when streaming came, and there was a lot of. I still think it sucks. Obviously, the way it's
Definitely, yeah.
remunerating or like paying artists. Obviously, being an artist, obviously, I will never be happy. But I think with that also came the possibility of reaching so many more people. So there's good sides to it as well. And you just have to find a nice middle way. And I think the same thing is with AI or the use of AI. Personally, I'm kind of interested in what it's done so far, but in the end, I think that the creativity and the individual skill sets of each and every artist will always win. And it's the same thing with music. You can probably have AI making music, and it will be generic and probably appealing to masses that don't really care about it. But if you're passionate about the band, you will hear if it's AI or if it's the band. So there's, as a tool, I think we've used AI for many years for different things. But when it comes to art and the creative arts, I think it has not much to come with. I think we don't need to worry too much. That's the long and the short of it. Sorry.
Yeah, that's actually a great answer. You're still a band that's very focused on your live act, which is amazing, and it's always something to be appreciated nowadays. Is there a song that you, as a guitarist, particularly love playing in terms of the new songs on Foregone?
Well, we only played 3 or 4 of them live yet. But they're all, since they're new, first of all, they're fresh and fun to play and challenging, obviously, because when I write, I always try to up the game a little bit and play a little bit above my skill level. That forces me to practice, and because I don't like practicing. Right. Even I'm saying that I've never played as much guitar as I'm doing now with Chris Broderick in the band, because he's like a mentor and a phenomenal guitar player. So I play a lot of guitar, but the basic idea is to play a little bit above my skill level, if you will, because it forces me to practice and makes me hopefully a better guitar player. So all new songs are always a little bit more fun to play, at least in the beginning. And then you learn what songs will fit into the live set, because the whole live set is, the whole flow is so important that one song or another doesn't necessarily have to be the most fun of the evening, but it fits so well and sets up the songs that I really like to play in a great way, so they become even more fun to play. So yeah, I really enjoy playing. State of Slow Decay is really fun. It's lots of energy in it. Usually people really react to that one. Even Foregone has been really cool to play. It's a way faster song that we've done in a long time, but it just has a nice flow to it. I love the chorus in State again. It's really heavy, very different from how we normally do choruses, but it just works really well because there's so many parts in the song that's super melodic, lots of guitar work in there. Of course, as a guitar player, I love that. So it's the one's Great Deceiver it's like a long lead for me, so it's fun to play too. So yeah, all of them so far.
I saw that Jesterhead, your mascot, recently became an action figure.
Mm-hmm.
That is so cool.
It's in combination with the comic book, the second comic book that we're releasing. So it's just something to add to the lore. What I talked about earlier with the old vinyls, where you could look at. I remember, for instance, growing up listening to Dio, like Holy Diver and Lost in Line. Those covers are incredible. There's so much going on. The Maiden cover, same thing. It's like you can sit there and listen to a song and find details in the cover that would just enhance your experience with the song, and you can see movies in your head listening to the music. And so expanding that universe with the visual as well, I think is awesome. It's what I loved as a kid and always loved growing up and being part of this. So of course that's something we wanted to explore more. And Blake Armstrong, who's our art guy, he knows us so well. He comes in at the demo stage already. He gets to sit next to me while I write and just hear everything early. So he gets a good understanding. He has long discussions with Anders about topics, what he wants to say, and like they create a universe together, you know. So it's really, really cool to see how that actually now is made into an action figure, and the comic books are coming out. And, all the work he's doing with t-shirts and everything is all connected to this universe, and that it's really, really, for a nerd like me, it's super exciting.
Actually, yeah, your graphic novel is coming out in April.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be it's quite a limited edition, right? It's going to be signed by you guys, so it's going to be a really
it's a collector's
experience, a collectible, definitely. Yeah. Awesome. That's really cool. And I read that you're actually in the top 100 best heavy metal guitarists out there. It's a top done by Guitar World magazine.
Me?
Yeah.
I am?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, yeah.
You didn't
know? No, but it's obviously not true. But there's so many awesome. I think that possibly legacy might play in here. You know, having done this for a long time and been writing a lot of songs, so hopefully some of it has stuck along the way. But I've always been working with excellent guitar players in the band, obviously. So this is not something conscious or something that I've been aiming towards. But it's makes me feel proud hearing that, but at the same time a little funny.
Yeah, you're very modest, but it's definitely an earned title, and I think your fans deeply agree.
Well, thank you so much for that. Yeah.
So slowly our time is coming to a halt, unfortunately. We only have a few more minutes left of the interview. I also wanted to ask you one last question regarding Foregone. Even though the lyrics are really intense and there's a lot of stuff going on, there's a lot of like negative feelings being really exercised, if I can use the word.
It's a good way of putting it. It's almost like therapy for
exactly
getting it out.
There's also a lot of hope, at least that's what I felt listening to the songs. And I was wondering how you managed to strike a balance between the two, both as a human being and as an artist as well.
I think life in general is part struggle, part experiencing, or like just following, how do you say, just going with the flow in a way. But at the same time, you have to make decisions. You have to fight certain battles in order to get to where you want to be. And sometimes you fight those battles not because of your own doing, it's because of surrounding things, obviously. And I think life is like that. And I think life as a musician is the same way as the artists that I follow on Instagram. Everything is, you have to work hard, in every situation in order to be able to do what it is you really want. Nothing is for free. And I think in general in life that it just resonates. It's just true, I think, in every aspect of life. But there is hope in all of this. Life finds a way. It always did, and art has always been the greatest companion when it comes to finding hope and finding resolution or strength or the will, if you will, to go on. Even though it looks extremely bleak, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, At least that's my general view. Obviously, you hit the wall every now and then, but hopefully, and most of the time, people manage to get back up on the horse, or what? What do you want to say? And life goes on. You know, it will go on. And going back to what we talked about before, right now we're in the weirdest time since, at least in our generation, that we ever had in Europe, with the instability of politics, economy, everything, right? But we've been there before, you know, and it's been good times in between. So I really believe that that it will be good times again.
Thank you so much for your wise words, Björn.
Thank you.
That was beautifully put. And thank you for the interview. Hopefully we get to meet virtually at least again soon. And good luck with your record. And hopefully see you this summer for a gig.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.